Finally, that's the last one. Hey, manuscript page. They should tell me where my wife is. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. Oh, god damn it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Penguin's Horror Extravaganza. And today we'll be taking a look at a game that I had a chance to play only recently, and it instantly became one of my new favorites. A game from the Xbox 360 era. A game that we're getting a full remaster this year. A little game called Alan Wake.
Sorry, we're just settling in.
Okay, Al. I'll call back later to make sure you're doing okay.
Developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by Microsoft Game Studios, Remedy was founded in 1995 by Somali Saivahuko, Marcus Mackey, Sami Nopenin, John Karvalev, and Sami Van Hatello, and I'm pretty sure I butchered those names. Originally coming from making demos for PC, the first game was a game changer for the budding company. This was a game by the name of Death Rally, a top-down racing game where the player must complete deadly races to earn cash for bonuses. Death Rally came out to decent reviews. Not only was it the first successful project, but it also introduced the world to Sam Lake. Lake had been brought on to add flavor text to Death Rally, and Lake has been a part of Remedy ever since. Now fast forward a few years, and a new project is on the horizon, an isometric shooter called Dark Justice. This project was transformed into a critically acclaimed Max Payne, a personal favorite, and a game I did a review on a while back. Remedy was able to bottle lightning once again with the release of Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne in 2003. In 2005, a trailer was released at E3. This showcased some of the new elements for Remedy's newest project. However, beyond the trailer, there wasn't much to show as far as gameplay. After that, there wasn't much news on the new game. In 2006, Remedy announced their partnership with Microsoft Game Studios. Originally, Alan Wake was envisioned to be an open-world game. This was done to try and distance itself from the linearity that was the Max Payne games. This new project would have been a survival game. The player would collect supplies during the day, like gas for the generator, or portable lights. Then when night fell, they did their best to survive. The partnership with Microsoft Game Studios would land Alan Wake on the Xbox 360. Research teams were sent out to Oregon and Washington State, among other places, to take photos of mountains, lakes, and other structures. This was done to get the look and feel of the game just right. Inspirations were also taken from the works of Stephen King and David Lynch, that being Twin Peaks, even from shows like Lost. There was also inspiration from Mark Z. Danielowski's House of Leaves, a book I've never read, but I hear good things. However, the development didn't come without its roadblocks. Unfortunately, they had missed milestones, and overall were struggling with the growing project and not having the bodies to man it. They felt they were not meeting the standards they had set for themselves. This had led to the team to isolate themselves in a room to hammer out what they wanted from this new project. They kept the foundation of the open world and formed a linear experience out of it. This process took about 2 months. The free roam aspects were dropped as they felt it didn't fit the story-driven focus. As Oskari Hannikin, the head of franchise development for Remedy Entertainment, had stated, the thriller is very much like a roller coaster. You need those build-ups to make the plunges feel all the more exhilarating. We just weren't getting that with the sandbox design, because all the gamistic things you need were distracting from the story being the focal point. Alan was created to be the opposite of Max Payne. Remedy wanted the main character to not be the usual hero, but an everyman. This was very reminiscent of the Silent Hill series, with its protagonists being mostly everyday people. This was something I always liked about the series. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind playing as a main character that's armed up to the teeth and in possession of specific skills that make Liam Neeson blush. But there is something interesting about playing as a normal person who is thrown into fantastical situations. Remedy also wanted Alan Wake to have an episodic form to replicate popular television shows. There is a 6-part miniseries titled Bright Falls, a prequel series to Alan Wake. The series follows Jake Fisher as he visits Bright Falls in order to snag an interview with Dr. Hartman on his new book, but soon he begins to experience blackouts and must find a way to deal with them. The series was released late April 2010, up until the release of the game. There was a PC port planned, but was cancelled to focus on the console version. In fact, it was Remedy that had pushed for the release of this version of the game. Hannikin stated, PC gaming is part of Remedy's heritage, and after several repeating requests by Remedy, Microsoft finally gave in to release the PC version. A small team from Remedy worked alongside the independent developer, Nitro Games, and took the base Xbox 360 game and added new features, i.e. better visuals and mouse and keyboard control support. The PC port was finished in 5 months, and was announced December 2011. There were several novelizations released. There was a direct adaptation by Rick Burroughs, as well as a book called The Alan Wake Files that was packaged with the collector's edition of the game. There was also a book called Alan Wake Illuminated, an art/making up book. There are also 2 comic books, Night Springs and Psycho Thriller. Alan Wake was released for Xbox 360 in Europe on May 14, 2010, and in North America May 18, 2010, and on Windows in North America and Europe on February 16, 2012. Reception for Alan Wake was favorable, receiving high scores, being praised for its pacing, atmosphere, and gameplay. However, despite the well-received reviews, it was not a financial success, only selling 145,000 units. This was due to Alan Wake being released around the same time as a little game called Red Dead Redemption, which had sold 1.5 million units in the same time frame. Though Alan Wake would end up garnering a cult following, Alan Wake ended up being the second most illegally copied Xbox 360 game in 2010, with more than 1.1 million downloads. A funny thing about that is Remedy included a feature that forced Alan to wear an eye patch throughout the entire game on pirated copies, a feature that will also be implemented in Quantum Break. And with that, let's take a look at today's game.
Mission accomplished. The key and the directions.
Alan Wake is a very successful author, but after getting a severe case of writer's block, Alan and his wife Alice decide to head out to a small town of Bright Falls to try and clear out the cobwebs. But after a spat with his wife, Alan wakes up in a crashed car with Alice nowhere to be found. Now, Alan has to do what he can to find out what exactly happened to Alice and get her back safe, but things are not as simple as they may seem. Alan Wake is a third-person, well, not a full-on horror game, maybe action horror? Point is, you're gonna be busting caps. But guns aren't Alan's only weapon. In fact, they aren't his best weapon. Light is Alan's greatest tool. In order to get enemies into a weakened state, Alan has to use light. This takes the form of a flashlight. Alan also has light-based secondary items like flash grenades and flares. The flash grenades are usually one-hit kill, while the flares are used to get some breathing room from enemies, as well as deal continuous damage. As far as firearms, Alan has plenty to choose from. There's the revolver. This is the default weapon. There are several flavored rifles. There's the shotgun, a powerful weapon, but is limited by only having 2 rounds. There's the pump action shotgun. This has a wider spread and has a larger ammo capacity. There's the hunting rifle, a very powerful weapon. This usually takes the enemies in few shots, even taking out weaker enemies with a single round. And finally, the flare gun. This one is a one-hit kill for almost all enemies. This is very useful for clearing out groups of enemies if needed. Speaking of enemies, which are called Taken, as they have been taken over by the darkness. And there are different types of enemies. There are the normal jobber enemies. There are some that will throw weapons at Alan. There are some that will zip around and try to get the jump on Alan. There are larger enemies that take more damage to take down. There are also birds that will try to snuff out the rider. Hell, even the environment will come to life and try to break off a piece. The gunplay in Alan Wake is spot on. If you ever played a Remedy game, you know what I mean. They do have a damn fine track record on that front. Damn fine. Alan does have a dodge move, something that is very useful when surrounded by enemies, though it is a bit hard to master, and if you don't get the timing down, you'll lose a good chunk of health. But once you nail that perfect dodge, it does feel pretty badass. Alan does have a sprint, but it's about as useful as a glass hammer. I swear, I could probably run longer than that. The tree jacket was a bad idea. Actually, never mind. The levels are a very linear experience with some minor exploration. There are little doodads that Alan can find sprinkled throughout the levels. There are hidden caches of ammo and supplies that can be located via these markings. There are manuscript pages. These offer a bit of foresight in the events of the story. There are TVs that show episodes of Night Springs, this universe's version of the Twilight Zone, and radios that play broadcasts that flesh out the world a bit more. And finally, there are thermoses. These don't really do anything beyond unlocking achievements, and I didn't really hunt them out, but they're there. There are parts of the game that do open up and let Alan get behind the wheel, but the driving did feel loose to me, and these parts didn't really offer much beyond getting more supplies, and I did find myself simply trucking to the next objective at these parts. As far as bosses, there were a few, which weren't too difficult. There are also sections where Alan would have to survive several enemy waves, but they weren't too bad.
This is Agent Nightingale, FBI! Get him up, Hemingway! You're under arrest!
I am playing the PC version of Alan Wake, so it doesn't look all that bad. I think it still holds up. The lighting is fantastic, and the levels did have an air of eeriness to them. The voice work from Matthew Peretta was fantastic. Peretta was also Dr. Casper Darling in control. James McCaffrey also makes an appearance. McCaffrey is known for lending his voice to Max Payne and Zachariah Trench from Control as well. Fred Berman did a great job as Barry Wheeler. Berman had voiced Vinnie Gagnetti in Max Payne 2. Actually, all the voice cast did a fantastic job. The music is a great collection of pieces as well, even having some licensed songs tossed into the mix. It does do that Dead Space thing where the music's theme kicks in when enemies appear. The only thing was a noticeable motion blur that was present when the camera was moved around, but it didn't take me long to get used to it. I also did find it weird that the camera is set to Alan's left, when it's normally set to the character's right in other third-person games. Again, this is something that I eventually got used to, and sure, you can swap the camera around with the press of a button, but I just went with it. Overall, I didn't run into any major glitches during my time with the game. So, all in all, is this a game you need to go out and play? Yes. A definite hard yes. The gunplay is fun as hell. There are times after an enemy encounter that I'll be left with little to no ammo, but there are also times where I'll be a one-man army taking out baddies left and right. I will say, having to use light to weaken enemies was a neat mechanic. It was also cool to see the flashlight double as a targeting reticle, and I didn't mind the episodic format, though I thought it was a bit strange to have the previously on section at the beginning of each episode. Then again, I did play through it with very little breaks. But I guess if you were to leave the game then come back later, it would be very helpful to keep up with the story. And I definitely wasn't a fan of Alan's sprint limit. Also, I did find some of the product placement a bit strange. Now, is this the last we see of our darkness fighting Rider? Well actually, there were 2 DLC packs released for Alan Wake, the Signal and the Rider. There was also a standalone game released called Alan Wake's American Nightmare. This one took a bit more of an action route. They did change some things up with the UI, and it did feel like the dodge mechanic was tweaked to be a bit more responsive. It also added new weapons to the mix, as well as new enemy types. It was a fun time and is highly recommended. Alan also makes an appearance in Control in the AWE DLC, and at the beginning of this month, a remaster for Alan Wake was released for PC and consoles by Epic Games. There are rumors currently floating around that Remedy is in talks with Epic Games to publish a sequel for Alan Wake. Speaking of sequels, there was an internal prototype made for the planned Alan Wake 2. This showed off some new enemy types and potential gameplay, but unfortunately, this plan didn't come to pass. However, some of the ideas present did end up in American Nightmare. Polygon released a 13-minute video on the prototype. It's a very interesting watch for any Alan Wake fan, so that's pretty cool. And plus, it's definitely interesting to see what could have been, or hell, what could still be if the sequel is greenlit. In 2018, it was announced that Remedy and Contradiction Films were planning to develop a live-action Alan Wake series. Contradiction Films is a production company behind several projects like Mortal Kombat Legacy, Dead Rising Watchtower, and Electro Woman and Dino Girl. Sam Lake was to be an exclusive producer for the series. The live-action series was to use ideas canned from Alan Wake 2, and as of 2020, Sam Lake revealed that the series was still being developed. If you can get jiggy with that, then I say give this one a try. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a missing wife to find.
Hey, I think Alan Wake here has something to say. What's that, Al?
Oh, I'm Alan Wake. I'm always right about everything. And if I don't get my way, I'll sulk all day long. I'm always intense and moody. It makes me very attractive and mysterious. Right now, I'm just standing here because I need my best friend Barry to carry me. But that's okay. I can just take him for granted.
I think I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
You want me to do my imitation of Barry Wheeler? No? Thought so.
Hey, welcome to the end of the video. Thank you for making it this far. This is one I've been wanting to play for quite some time, so when I saw it on Steam, I finally decided to give it a try. Now will I get it again when I finally get another Xbox 360? You bet your ass I will. The next game I'll be taking a look at will be from PlayStation 4, and one I just so happened to stumble across. But until then, you know what to do. Spread the awesome, and I will see you next time.